Hey everybody, I have a secret crush and it is on a plant. And I think it's time I tell the world about this because it's Heliopsis, this plant right here. And I have had a long-term affinity for this plant, but boy, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago when I got back to posing, passion was reignited because I got in and I looked on the bench and there were two of the most beautiful Heliopsis plants I had ever seen. They were nice and big, they were covered in beautiful golden flowers. It was absolutely stunning. And when I took a closer look, I realized those are the same plants that I had seen back at the end of May before I left. And they had completely transformed. When I had left, they were in either 1 gallon, maybe a little bit smaller, and they looked pretty good, but they were starting to get a little tired in that pot. And Heliopsis is one of those plants that if it's in too small of a pot, it just starts looking a little bit rough and it tends not to thrive. But don't worry, if you find one that is in too small of a pot, once you plant it out, they tend to start behaving. And that's exactly what happened. What the staff had done is they had bumped it up to a 2 gallon, and that gave it enough room to really send up more branches, more flowers. It was absolutely stunning. And the best thing about it is that the staff kept saying, we've done nothing but water it. There has been no trimming. There's been no extra work with it. It just, the flowers last a long time and it keeps sending up new blooms. Absolutely incredible. And so I was like, I've got to get one of those. And the truth is, I've only planted one Heliopsis in my life, and that is going to change today. But before I get to the work part of it, I'm going to tell you more about this plant because there's some things about it that I think you're going to really appreciate. So one is, like the variety that I talked about was the Tuscan Gold. And so that's a somewhat larger variety, and there are different sizes. So like next year, there's a new variety coming out from Proven Winners called Athena Gold. That's gonna be a more compact variety. And then another one that they're bringing out is called Raised for Days. That one's kind of in between. And I know the Athena Gold is just covered in flowers. It almost reminded me of a mum, the way it just had so many blooms on it. And a couple things to note about some differences between them. So with the flowers, you might notice some of them are yellow, some of them are more yellow and orange, some of them are doubles, some of them are singles, and then some of them, if they have the eye, it's either kind of more of a yellow or more of a golden orange or more of kind of that darker color. So there's a little variation in the flowers depending on the variety. Now, I'm going to tell you about some other ones that are also my favorites. So let me get my notes because I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. I should also note that most of these varieties are hardy down to zone 3 and up to zone 9, but some of them are going to be only down to 4 and only up to an 8. So just check your tags. But so it's really hardy, comes back year after year. I mean, this is good news. Now, one of my favorites is one that's kind of more bicolor, and it's called Yellow Spider. And I have a Yellow Spider over here. Now, what I love about Yellow Spider is it has like this double ring of blooms, and then it has a darker eye. Absolutely beautiful. And then it has foliage that is a little bit, it's green, but it also has a little bit of that purple in it. So really nice foliage on it too. It gets a nice size. I planted one out last year. It's looking pretty good and it's getting no care. So I'll take you guys out and show you that row after I get everything done that I want to get done in here, and you'll get to see just how big these plants get. And that one does get really quite large. In fact, some of those bicolor ones are a little bigger than these yellow ones that I'm featuring here. And this one is called, and I keep confusing my Burning Hearts and my Bleeding Hearts. This one is Bleeding Hearts. So this one has a little bit darker color on it. So it doesn't necessarily have yellow. It has that really kind of orangey yellow color with that darker orange center. And I've seen some of the flowers on these be almost kind of reddish colored. So there can be a little variation on these bicolors. And again, these do much better in the landscape than they do in pots, but I think this is a really good way for you to kind of get a look at them. The other ones that you can also enjoy are the ones with the variegated leaf. And so we've been seeing a couple more of those enter the market. So one of those is going to be called Sunstruck. And so that one is got that kind of green and white vein on the leaf. It's quite interesting, when you see it. Nice yellow flower on that one. And the ones that are variegated tend to be a little bit less cold hardy. They're only down to the 4. Another one that came out last year was Touch of Blush. And so that one, when the leaves first come out, they have a pink cast to them, but that's kind of interesting to see that. And there's one more. Bit of Honey is another one that comes out, and that one has that kind of veining going on as well. So those are just really interesting foliage ones. But again, the size on those varies, so you just want to check them. They're kind of mid-range for the blush ones. Those tend to be kind of smaller or middle of the road size. So those are some of the different varieties, and I'm glad I got to show you some of these, but I got really lucky because I was over at Fresh Coast Gardens and Market over in Rogers City, Michigan, and that's a place that, they have some plants in the springtime, and then as the summer progresses and fruits and vegetables become available, they carry all kinds of local food, like stuff that's grown locally or produced locally. They have some other items as well. Absolutely great store. It's a little tiny shop with a nice little greenhouse area. I really love going there, and they had some of their perennials left over and some of their shrubs, and they were on sale, 40% off. So I couldn't resist. They had some Tuscan Gold, and since the two that were here that I fell in love with and I wanted to get my hands on had sold like within the hour of me seeing them, I was like, I got to get some. I mean, we'll probably get some next year, but I wanted to make sure I had them. So I picked up 4 of them. I'm not sure what I'm doing with them. I don't know where I'm going to plant them. I might be giving them to people. I have no idea, but I am going to show you what I'm going to do with these right now, because they're a little bit rough, and let me show you what I mean by that. So let me move this one. This one you can see is a little lopsided. Again, it wants to be put into a bigger container. So I've got these, and when you look at this, you might say, oh, those are kind of spindly, like there's only 2 branches. What's, whoop-de-doo, why, what's the big deal? But the truth is, I know that these are going to do pretty well, and especially if I pot them up right now, because I'm not ready to plant them. I don't know where I'm going to put them. So I think I'm going to just pot them up right now, and I might overwinter them in the bigger pots, just so I have them for next year, and they'll be nice and big next year. So I'm going to transplant those right now so that I can get those going. Let me see. I have some snips. I think I don't necessarily have to trim the plant flowers off, but I think I am going to do that. Just hopefully it'll give it the ability to then produce better roots. So we're going to go into there, and we're going to pop this stuff over, and we're going to get it in here. Now, because we're in the greenhouse business, if we have a Proven Winners plant, we always put it in a Proven Winners pot, because what if I decide to sell it or something like that? We're required for Proven Winners to do that. So that's what I'm doing. And then gosh, it's been a while since I transplanted. You can tell I'm kind of clumsy and sloppy with this. So I'm going to get this out of here first, because I want us to take a look. Okay, so it's not terribly root bound, so that's good to see. I was worried that they might be really root bound, but they're not. I can still put this in here. Oh, a little too high. And see, I always like to leave like at least a ½ inch along the rim, so that way we can keep it watered better. Now this one isn't necessarily centered in the pot, so I'm going to push it over to one side. The advantage to that is it gives me a little more space to wedge dirt in. Otherwise it's even all the right way around. That can be a little bit of a pain. So let's get this in there. Still a little higher than I normally would go, but these are my plants, and I know I'm going to be planting them out, so I don't have to keep them alive for long periods of time. I just got to get them to get through it, probably the winter. Now I might be tempted, and I might just plant them up at home pretty soon, but I want to make sure that if I do take it home that I'm able to keep it watered, and I don't know. I'm just talking right now. Now when I'm transplanting this time of year, I'm not going to give them really any supplemental fertilizer. I mean, if you wanted to do like a biotone starter fertilizer that encourages root growth, that would be fine. But a lot of times if you're using like a purchased type of soil or like a soil mix or some kind of medium like that, they a lot of times have the fertilizer already in, so you don't really need to add more. I'm going to get these other ones on. Now this one's kind of interesting because when I look at it, so there's some weeds growing in here, no big deal. I can just pop those out. But there's also a variegated leaf in here. So I'm thinking that maybe a touch of blush might have, or one of the other ones, bit of honey might have got stuck in there. I'm going to see if it just kind of pops out. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's got some good roots. So I'm going to just put this in its own container and see what happens. So I'll probably just put it in a little quart container and nurture that one as kind of a bonus plant. And let me get some of this other stuff out of here. So again, I don't know that you really have to cut the flowers off. I mean, there's still, some of them are looking good. I could clean it up, but I'm not going to do that. And then hopefully that'll just encourage it to keep going. So let me get these other ones cleaned up just in case there's anything else I want to show you on these. Otherwise, the potting up is the same in each one. So yeah, I'm just going to these here. Now, when I grabbed the pots out of the back there, I didn't even pay attention. I put them in these Proven Winner deer-proof pots, which I don't know if these are officially part of the Proven Winners deer-proof line. However, in fact, I think that's their shrub line is deer-proof. But these are deer-resistant plants, which is really nice. They're also drought tolerant, so they can handle a bit of drought, which is good because this one is particularly dry right now, so it really needs some water. But the other good thing is that they can handle a little bit of standing water in the spring. So if you have a short-term area that does flood, they can usually manage that as long as it's not for too long. So that's another good thing. They're great for pollinators as well. So the bees and butterflies are all over them. And they're just really, nice plants that way. And let me see if there's anything else on my notes. Yeah, two more things. They can be cut flowers, and they're also based on native varieties. So Heliopsis is a native plant here. So these are kind of the descendants of some of the native varieties. So, gosh, I am thrilled with these. Now, I need to probably, I just potted all 4 of these up, and now that I think about it, I think I might plant one of these up in my mom's row next to the spider Heliopsis that I planted last year. I think I might do that. So, I guess I put myself through a little extra work, but hey, that's okay. So let's head on out there and take a look. I'm going to show you what's happening in that row over there. So we call this the forgotten row because we neglect it. It does not get attention. It does not get supplemental water. But this is one of the yellow spider Heliopsis. And you can see the newer blooms look fantastic. A lot of these older blooms on top are done now. So we could clean those up, but from a distance, you don't really notice them. The color is still looking great. The contrast of those flowers against those leaves is absolutely stunning. Then we come down here, that's a gladiola that kind of came back from last year, which is, I didn't expect that. And here is that Tuscan Gold Heliopsis that I just planted. I need to make sure I get water on it though, because it was quite dry and it's gonna continue to suffer if I don't get it well watered, so it has time to develop roots. Here's a Zinfandel hydrangea that I had planted 2 years ago, and the deer have completely mowed it down. We do spray all of our hydrangeas with a product called Plant Skid, and that keeps them off, but this one got missed, and I'll show you another one that got missed. This is a hardy hibiscus. It's from the Summerific series, so one of the more unusual colors, kind of more mauve like, and this one's doing really well, and you can see how many blooms are coming. So it's been blooming for probably 2 weeks now, and it's going to continue blooming potentially right through October. And then these are some more of the hydrangeas that I put in. I had planted the what's that called, Veronica, last year. And, oh, you can see the bees are all over it. And some of those did well, some of them didn't, but I'm just going to leave them be. They've never been sheared back. If we were to have cut those back, we probably would have got a really good reflush of blooms. Another hardy hibiscus, but this one's not blooming yet. And that seems to be the case with a lot of hardy hibiscus up here right now, is that a lot of them are just way behind. They still look healthy. They're still doing fine, but not how they usually do. Have this baptisia, and these black things on here are the seed pods, and they're really interesting. When they dry, they rattle. Usually there's more seed pods on it than what I see here, but who knows what that reason is. And then more Veronica, more hydrangeas. This is an Amsonia called String Theory. These leaves are going to start turning this beautiful golden color. And here's some of the clary salvia, the purple that you see here. That's the stuff that I started from seed last year. It reseeded itself over the winter and came up in the spring. Have a delphinium in here as well. And then more hydrangeas, and we'll just kind of keep going down. Again, another hardy hibiscus that's just starting. As long as we don't get really cold temperatures, this thing will just keep blooming and blooming almost till frost. So I'm not too worried about it, but hopefully we don't get too cold. Another hydrangea. This is an early evolution hydrangea, and this is the one that is really, really tiny, and it was kind of like a little tree, and I couldn't resist it, so I planted it up for my little row here. And then over here, this is an interesting little space. This is my little patch that I've been nurturing for the last couple of years, putting in plants that I start from seed or different varieties that I'm testing. Well, I wasn't here, so I didn't get to do that. So it's got a different use this year. So this here is a hydrangea tree form. I think it is a berry white, or it could be a vanilla strawberry. I think it was berry white. And this is one that had cracked off twice, like in a spot like this, where there were no leaves, no branches, and it recovered twice. Thankfully, it made it through. However, the deer got to it again this year. So this is another one that got missed with the spray, but we still have some blooms on this side. The deer kind of avoided this side. So unfortunately, we got a spray for those deer. And then my mom decided that she was going to just use this space for pumpkins because she makes pumpkin soup in the fall. So she's got pumpkins that are starting to orange up. So she's thrilled about that. And there's probably at least 6 or 8, maybe more than that in there. The other thing is I had ordered some gladiolas from Nicole at Flower Hill Farm, and she just tucked them in with her pumpkins. And I love this idea of the gladiolas coming up out of the pumpkins. The ones that were in here before, they were flowering and it looked really quite cool. These are ones that are just getting ready to, so that we could start trimming these. But we already got probably 15 or 20 blooms off of these. So I absolutely love them. And the colors were so fantastic. And then a big surprise came over here with the celosia. So there's this yellow, I think it was like Sunday Gold or something, and this red. They could have been the Kilo series too. I can't remember exactly. And then some of the nasturtium had reseeded. So these all reseeded. So I had trouble growing celosia in the greenhouse, but boy, when it reseeds, it does a great job doing it itself. I think one of them is like an Alaska Gold, and one of the, this variety here, I think is the Peach Melba maybe. I can't remember exactly, but I just love the fact that something's happening in here. We've got life in here, even though I wasn't here to plant anything. And I love how the pumpkins look right now. I know pumpkin leaves though, like once they start going downhill, they'll look pretty bad. But for now, I think it's really pretty. And holy smokes, look at this spider. Oh my goodness. That is kind of scary. Like that is like a horror movie spider. Let's see if I can get it focused. Oh, wow. Okay, and look at how it's like zigzaggy. Okay, crazy stuff. I don't know what that thing's going for, but hey, get whatever bugs you want, spider. I'll leave you alone. And while I'm out here, I'm just gonna stop at these hydrangeas because there's 2 different types here, but also 2 different forms. So this one over here is more the tree form, or called standard. This is a limelight. And so you can see the limelight, you know, full of blooms. And actually, because of the ice storm that we had this winter, this tree and this tree here lost a lot of branches. And so they're getting more sun, so they're bigger and more flowerful than ever. So happy about that. But you can see the limelight hasn't started changing color yet because it is a little bit farther behind some of the other varieties, including this vanilla strawberry. But the difference with this, they're almost the same size. However, this is not tree form. So this is more of a shrub form where as it got taller, we had just cleared out the branches that were down below and let it kind of be bare at the bottom. And so you get kind of more of this, almost like a Japanese maple, or sometimes you'll see lilacs like this. And it's just a nice change up. It's a different way to kind of trim your hydrangeas. And I should be on this side because this is the sunnier side and we get even more blooms on this side of the bushes. But just thought you guys would want to see this while I'm here. So tell me, is my little crush on Heliopsis warranted? Did you fall in love with it too? Is it a plant that you have in your garden already? I'm also very curious to know what you guys think of the variegated leaf ones, because those are very, very different and people tend to have very different opinions on it. People either love them or hate them. I like them in the springtime, but once they start flowering, I'm all about the flowers. So, but it is a cool plant and there's a lot of cool varieties out there. Oh, you know, there is another one that is out there and it's called like orange marble. I forgot to tell you about that one. That one is so beautiful, but I keep seeing it listed as anywhere from a zone 4 to a zone 7. And my more reliable sources have it listed as a 7. So I'm not going to trust that one, but oh my goodness, the leaves, that's a variegated one with the cool color flowers. I mean, boy, you guys, any breeders out there, get me one that can go down to zone 4. Even better if you can get it colder. That'd be fantastic. I really want one of those. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'm dreaming about plants that don't even exist yet. Like, what am I talking about? Anyway, talk to you guys all very soon, and I'll have a new video out very, very soon.